A lot of people come to me with questions and concerns on whether or not they can go to Japan. And my usual answer is, of course you can go to Japan. Anyone can go to Japan, no matter their size, skin color, sexual orientation, or dislike of seafood. You can go to Japan. But I can't lie when I say not everyone should go to Japan, because I have seen people who went and it became very clear to me that they should never have been admitted into the country. Does that seem harsh? Well, mind you, those judgments weren't made using any of the previously mentioned components to a person. It was simply based on how rude, obnoxious, and disrespectful those travelers were being. So the only reason you should be disqualified from going to Japan, in my opinion, is if you are a loud, racist, demanding jerkwad who thinks the world revolves around you and you alone. So many people have rudely commented that just being a fat girl in Japan perpetuates the stereotype that all Americans are filthy pigs. But honestly, the people damaging the image of Americans in Japan are the people that are rude and disrespectful of the culture and complaining that not everything is 100% like it is in America. Americans really make me mad sometimes. And yes, I am an American, but I don't regret being born in this country. I don't suffer from the illusion that I'm Japanese on the inside. I'm an American through and through, but at least I can respect a culture for its differences. Not all Americans are loud, obnoxious jerks. I know this. You're probably not like this unless you're one of those hate-filled douche nozzles I'll be seeing shortly in the comments below. But I think before going to Japan, everyone should know some do's and don'ts, because Japan is different. And it is just as important to follow the rules there as it is in your home country so as not to look like a frackle bucket. Yes, I made that word up and I stand by it. So here is my top 10 do's and don'ts of living or traveling in Japan. Number 1. Do make friends. Don't get too comfy. Absolutely, you should try to make friends with people while you're there. However, unless a person is heavily intoxicated, things like hugging or even calling someone by their first name can be considered rude. Not "I'll shoot you in the head" rude, but it's considered disrespectful to call someone you just met by their first name. Number 2, do enjoy eating out. Don't tip and count. Eating out in Japan can be a super fun experience, but surprise, there's no tipping in Japan. This is because restaurants in Japan actually pay their waiters a wage that doesn't make you want to cry and hate customers for not tipping enough. Also, when you receive your change, if you paid with cash, don't count it. The cashier actually triple checks it in front of you, and in the 4 years I spent living in Japan, never was I handed the wrong change. Number 3, do try to use chopsticks. Don't use them incorrectly. It's okay if you can't use chopsticks well. In fact, you don't even have to, because surprise, they use forks too. You would be surprised how many times I've had to explain that to people. However, you are under no obligation to actually use them, and you will not be judged and criticized if you don't have the perfect grip or skill. That being said, there are some definite no-nos with chopsticks. Those include pointing at people with them, stabbing your food with them, using them as drumsticks, and putting them upright in your rice, because that's actually used for funerals. Number 4, do slurp, don't burp. Slurping your noodles in Japan is not only considered as a compliment to the taste of the food, but also helps in the cooling process. However, burping is really rude and quite honestly disgusting. So don't do that. Hold it in, swallow it down, wait till you get home. Number 5, do go to an onsen. Don't show your tattoos. Onsen are a great experience, and granted they are a little uncomfortable for the first timers because, you know, you're naked in front of a whole bunch of other strangers, but honestly it'd be more awkward if you were the only one in clothes. Make sure you bathe first before going into the onsen, that's very important. And if you have any tattoos, cover them with bandages. Tattoos are still considered a mark of the Yakuza or Japanese Mafia, and as cool as it sounds to be a part of the Japanese Mafia, you do not want to pose as a member because they will hunt you down and kill you. Number 6, do use public transportation. Don't do these things I'm about to tell you. Japanese transportation is great. It is always on time and it's fantastic, and trains are fantastic, and I love trains. Why don't we have more trains here? However, while using these modes of transportation, it would be wise not to blow your nose, or at least not loudly. It's also rude to talk on your phone on trains and buses. There's actually a separate compartment to go talk on your phone on trains at least, and it's rude to eat while on them. Even eating while walking is considered rude. Also, if you're going to be riding a taxi, don't open the door. The taxi driver has a lever that will open the door for you, so don't touch the door. He will let you in and out, unless he's a serial killer. Number 7, do try new food. Don't eat only what you know. Japanese food is not just sushi and rice. There is so much food in Japanese cuisine and they're all worth trying, but I have seen so many times where loud, obnoxious travelers only go to McDonald's. Like, I get the one time I wonder what McDonald's is like in Japan thing, but every single meal? Why are you even there? If you are traveling in Japan, try all the unfamiliar things. Even if it's not good, you can at least say you tried and you have a story now. Walk into that quaint little restaurant in the corner instead of going to the 2 Subways in Ikebukuro. You won't regret it. Unless you get food poisoning, then you might regret it. Then again, Subway could just as easily give you food poisoning. Number 8, do go sightseeing. don't be disrespectful. There are so many things to see in Japan. Every prefecture, every city, every town is unique and interesting. Don't just see the big cities like Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. See the little ones. They may surprise you with how amazing they are. That being said, don't be disrespectful of the statues and shrines that you just don't understand. I once saw some rather rude people commenting on how stupid a statue was. That statue survived the Hiroshima bombing. I almost stabbed them with my drumsticks that I oddly always have on me. The point is, respect the culture even when you don't understand it. Ignorance does not mean you get to be a jerk about stuff. It means you get to educate yourself on it. Number 9, do ask questions. Don't get mad at the answer. When you don't understand something, of course you should ask someone about it. More knowledge equals more power equals more blackmail you can use on other equals more knowledge. However, if someone cannot explain it or their only answer is because that's the way it is, don't get offended. You probably don't know every aspect of your own culture, so don't expect every Japanese person to know the entire history of theirs. Number 10, do try to speak Japanese. Don't flip out when no one speaks English. Japanese is my favorite language, and so I always suggest people going to Japan should try to learn a little bit just so they can get around. If you don't understand Japanese, that's okay. Just don't flip out when no one around you speaks English. Despite it being mandatory for students to study English since junior high school, a very small percentage of them actually utilize it after graduation. It's okay to be frustrated when no one understands. It's not okay to start yelling and freaking out at the cashier at Tokyo Tower. True story. So those are my top 10 do's and don'ts of traveling in Japan. I hope that helps. If you have further questions, you can leave them down in the comments below or on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter, and I will see you next time, cuties. Bye! It's okay if you can't use chopsticks It's okay if you can't use chopsticks I said wells again.